fasting can be a very useful tool in all stages of life, but the key as women is understanding how that affects us differently than men because we have a monthly cycle. Welcome back to Fasting Food Faith. I'm Brianne Sims, RN.
I'm Dr. Sam Sims, nurse anesthesiologist.
And today is a series that you have all been waiting for. Today, we're finally talking about women and fasting. Because I don't know if any of you noticed, but women are different than men.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do things differently. We're going to talk about what does the science say, what does the Bible say, and some of my personal experience fasting over the last 5 years, 6 years now, actually. We have a lot to say. We have a lot to talk about. First off, we're going to dive into some of the research on women and fasting.
Okay.
So take it away.
Well, having fasted and having not been a woman, I would say there's no difference.
Wow, thank you for that input. Then we will disregard immediately.
What would you say? You can't say what it's like to fast as a man. I'm just saying.
I cannot.
I'm just saying.
I will not. But most of the research on fasting has been on men. And so we're trying to find some that is specific to women, even though we know that a lot of the generalities of fasting benefits apply to both men and women. But what specifically can we look forward to fasting as women?
Okay. So this is the first one I want to go into. It's from 2020. It's from Nutrition and Metabolism and Cardiovascular Disease. And the article is, does the weight loss efficacy of alternate day fasting differ according to sex and menopausal status? So what they did was they looked at women that were premenopausal, postmenopausal, and men. And they did
no perimenopausal.
We're going to talk about that. There's a reason why they were excluded from the group.
Well.
So if you're premenopausal, you're postmenopausal, or you're a guy, then your results, and they had to make sure that one of the things that like you had to be basically inactive for the last 3 months. So no changes, and your weight had to be stable. They found that the results didn't really vary between those three groups. Okay. So men tend to lose weight quickly at the beginning, and women tend to slowly lose weight over time. Okay. So men have this quick drop, and then they slow down. Women have a continuous drop. So by the end of the study, they all kind of lost about the same percentage of body weight. Okay. So we'll start with that. But they did not include perimenopausal women because, I think this is interesting. So it depends on when you're at in your cycle. They were excluded because the present analysis of the stage of menopause is associated with altered lipid metabolism and metabolic disturbances. So I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
Perimenopausal women were excluded from the present analysis because of this stage of menopause is associated with altered lipid metabolism and metabolic disturbances.
Which is exactly why we need fast.
Right.
But I totally understand.
Because of the irregular menstrual cycle. If you're in that phase.
Because of the irregularity of the hormones and
yes,
the sensitivity to insulin, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. Anyway, so what did the study confirm in the groups outside of that?
These findings suggest that weight loss and metabolic benefits of alternate day fasting do not generally vary according to sex or menopausal status in adults with obesity.
Okay, so we know that in obese people who are premenopausal, postmenopausal, and men, they have good results with alternate day fasting.
They have basically the same result over time. So
alternate fasting is good.
Yes.
For those groups of people.
So
women can do alternate day fast.
Yes. Let's also talk about the difference between men and women.
Okay.
About how much essential fat you have to have on your body. Okay. So men actually, their essential fat is they need about 3% of their body fat is essential. Essential fat protects your vital organs. It's for vitamin storage. It's for building key cells, messengers like steroids. It's essential for effective cell function and communication. Without this fat, you would die. So you have a certain amount of fat that you actually have to have in your body, or body functions start to break down.
Right. Fat is essential.
And so for men, that number is around 3%. Now, this will vary based on individuals and that kind of stuff, but the average is about 3%. They find that when men fast in the longer term, they don't start to lose muscle mass until they get down to about 4%. So when that essential fat starts to get threatened, that's when they start to lose muscle mass.
Right.
Okay.
Makes sense because your body no, we need this fat for our organs
Right.
survive.
Survive. So that's when they start to lose muscle mass. So usually it's protected, so you can actually, your muscle mass is maintained when you fast till for men for about 4%.
Okay.
So women's essential fat, men's is 3, women's essential fat is 12. It's 4 times higher.
Yeah, than men.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. You need that essential fat not only for your own body, but also to grow life in your body. So there's a reason like the fat on your body has a purpose as a woman, and it's 4 times the amount of men.
Yep, and they believe it's protective for reproductive health. That actually, that is one of the reasons. And because of the estrogen and testosterone that's circulating in the body, women store their fat at different places than men.
Mm-hmm.
So if a man has, he has 8% stored, he has his essential fat 3%, and he has 8% stored fat, right above that, then his body fat percentage would be 11%. If you take a woman, so he has a 3% essential fat, he has to take essential fat and 8% stored fat, he's going to have a body fat percentage of 11%. Mm-hmm. A woman who would have her essential fat and then her 8% stored fat on top of that, she would have 12% essential, mm-hmm. and then 8% stored would put her at 20%. So a man who's 11% stored fat, 11% body fat,
right,
is basically the same health level as a woman is at 20% body fat.
Right. Which, women, this is good to understand about your body, is that fat has a purpose on your body and is for your benefit.
Yes, and so a 20% body fat.
For essential.
So yes, because you have your essential. So a woman at 20% body fat has the same amount of stored fat, mm-hmm. as a man does at 11%.
Right. Or like their health is like equal is what he's saying. Like, so you can't think that, well, I have to get to 11% body fat because that's what men are at.
Right.
You can't compare apples to apples there. Like it's not apples, it's apples to oranges. Like it's apples to freaking passion fruit or something. Like there's no comparison, okay?
Right. And so it may be actually unhealthy for you to be 11% body fat.
Oh yeah,
because you're not you
would lose some of your essential fats.
You would be 1% below essential.
So you would lose some of your organ.
Right. Now these are just averages. There might be a woman who can have like her essential fat is 10% or something like that.
Right. I mean, there's slight.
Right.
People are slightly different.
Right. But basically, 11% body fat would not be something you would be putting yourself at risk. You could be putting yourself at risk at 11% body fat as a woman, and as a man, you'd be just fine.
Super interesting. So that's a huge difference. And I don't know if anyone else has seen this study floating around the internet that says that women who carry more fat in their hips have smarter children.
Having done no research.
Okay, no, but I have looked at the study and it was very interesting. It is real. It's real. You go look it up. Because what's interesting is that fat is essential for brain development. So if you're growing a baby, fat is essential for their brain development. So I'm just saying, sometimes it's okay to have some fat on your body because it has a purpose. And we know that women who don't have enough fat on their body stop cycling. And we know this because of, extreme female athletes and stuff. Because fat is essential for producing hormones in your body. So it's essential for producing the hormones that cause your body to be normal and have regular processes the way that God designed and created you to be. You need that on your body for that. Women have stronger I'm hungry hormones than men do.
Ghrelin.
Yes.
The gremlin.
Well, ghrelin. Ghrelin hormone is higher in women. Their spikes are higher in women than they are in men. So women tend to have feel hungrier more often or sooner or whatever than men do. So it's technically easier for men to fast than women because of that increase in ghrelin hormone that drives our bodies to eat to produce life. Kind of interesting. That's another difference between men and women. From the research that has been done, we do know that fasting improves hormone regulation, also improves sleep regulation, also improves your gut, it improves your brain, it improves your muscle mass. Like, it improves so many things. It improves your blood glucose, it improves your insulin resistance, which is what perimenopausal and menopausal women struggle with the most because of fluctuation in hormones. Also fluctuates insulin, which is also a hormone. So fasting can be a very useful tool in all stages of life, But the key as women is understanding how that affects us differently than men, because we have a monthly cycle. And so we're going to dive into that some. But first, I want to talk about, what does the Bible say about women and fasting? And are there examples of women fasting in the Bible? Specifically women, because we know a lot about the men who fasted in the Bible, but who are the women who fasted in the Bible? And so I have two specific examples, and probably most of you will know these two specific examples, and that is obviously Esther. In the book of Esther, chapter 4, verses 15 and 16, Esther sent back her answer to Mordecai, "Go and get all the Jews living in Susa together. Fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, either day or night. I and my maids will fast with you. If you will do this, I'll go to the king, even though it's forbidden. If I die, I die." And we all know that story. So, were they doing anything while they were fasting and praying? No. They fasted from food and water for 3 days. So we know that women can fast for 3 days because her and her maids fasted. It doesn't say that anything adverse happened to any of them because they were pleading with God for his intervention. And they were saved. All the Jews were saved because of that. So we do have an example of a woman in the Bible fasting for 3 days. So we know that women can fast for 3 days.
Without food and water, actually.
Without food and water, actually. Which
one time.
We don't, one time, and we don't ever recommend anyone fasting without prayer, unless God specifically calls you to that.
But she was risking mortal death either way.
Exactly.
Yes.
She was going to die either way. It was a life or death situation. So I could see being from food and water in that particular case. But it's interesting that she chose 3 days specifically. So, and there's another woman in the Bible in Luke chapter 2, verses 36 through 38. Anna, the prophetess, was also there. This is in the temple when Mary and Joseph were having him dedicated and circumcised and doing all that stuff that they do in the temple. She was also there, a daughter of Phanuel from the tribe of Asher. She was by now a very old woman. She had been married 7 years and a widow for 84. She never left the temple area, worshiping night and day with her fastings and prayers. At the very time Simeon was praying over the child and prophesying over him, she showed up, broke into an anthem of praise to God, and talked about the child to all who were waiting expectantly for the freeing of Jerusalem. So she was fasting and praying in the temple day and night, and recognized the Messiah when Mary and Joseph brought him in, and began praising God and talking about him to everyone who would listen. So she was clearly post-menopausal woman, and it said that she fasted and prayed night and day in the temple. And so we know that a woman is fasting and praying consistently over a long period of time in the temple. And so we know that fasting over a lifetime, which it seems like she has done, is talked about in the Bible.
Well, yeah, she was married for 7 years and she was a widow for 84. So she's actually, so that is 91.
Or it says that she was married for 7 years and then 84 or something.
No, I think she's in their hundreds. She's like in the hundreds.
Oh, so maybe she's like 93 or something.
No, because she was married for 7 years, right?
Yeah.
And then she was...
Oh, plus the age of when she was when she got married. So if she was like, 18 plus 7 years plus 84 years, she was like 100 and something.
I know, right?
I don't know, but what we know
91 of years of her life were
she was
married 7 of those, and then she was a widow for 84.
Yeah, and she fasted and prayed when she was a widow.
I'm gonna say I'm thinking she was over 100. I'm just saying.
And so that fasting and praying, like, God revealed obviously great things to her, the Messiah. That's pretty exciting. But also it's good to see that we know of a woman in the Bible who consistently fasted.
And lived a long life, let's be honest.
Lived a really long life, apparently.
Yes.
So that's also a really good point. And then there is one other section in the Bible that is not specific to women, but applies to all people. And that is Leviticus, when God assigns the people of Israel to a yearly fast. In Leviticus chapter 16, verses 29 through 31, it says, "This is standard practice for you, a perpetual ordinance on the 10th day of the 7th month. Both the citizen and the foreigner living with you are to enter into a solemn fast and refrain from all work, because on this day atonement will be made for you, to cleanse you. In the presence of God, you will be made clean of all your sins. It is a Sabbath of all Sabbaths. You must fast. It is a perpetual ordinance. And so this is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. That happens once a year, and it was the special time when the priests would go into the temple and do all the sacrifices. They'd send out the scapegoat, like all the things to make atonement for all the people's sin in the entire nation. And everyone was expected to fast from sundown one day to sundown the next day. So a full 24-hour fast. And from what I've read, that meant everyone who was 13 and older, old enough to fast for 24 hours. That excluded, obviously, pregnant women, nursing women, and children younger than that. So we know that women consistently did 24-hour fasts in the Bible, and even teenagers did 24-hour fasts in the Bible, and God called them to that. So we know by looking in the Bible that God does call women to fast. Now, there's no examples of any fast longer than 3 days in the Bible, and I think even
Oh, there are.
no, of women
Okay.
specifically
Okay.
fasting in the Bible. I didn't find any that was longer than 3 days. And even there's other fasts where, like, the king will call the people to fast and pray for repentance over the nation. Even those tend to be like a day or up to 3 days, somewhere around there. So basically what we're seeing overall is that women in the Bible were called to shorter fasts as far as food is concerned. So I find that very interesting in comparison to the extremes that he called men to. A lot of 40-day fasts in the Bible, just because we're built differently. So having that in mind, that aligns with my personal experience with God and the fasts that he's called me to, is that he specifically has called me to long fasts, but has also taken care of my body in those fasts in having me eat at certain points certain things to align with my menstrual cycle. And so this is where we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty of fasting as a woman. Hey, this episode got extra long, and we have more to say about women and fasting, so we hope you'll join us for part 2.